We got a 430 here. We just completed a major service on it. The reason why I'm running it is I'm going to check the oil level, as everything's done now. There was a lot of issues with it. Problems it had was crazy interior exterior vibration. Like, I'm talking about these mirrors right here. I mean, they would just wobble. You couldn't see anything out of them, and the whole car would vibrate. And he was wondering what was wrong with this 430. Well, when he brought it in for a pre-purchase inspection, I assured him that it was the engine mounts, and sure enough, the engine mounts were completely destroyed, including the transmission mount with a big old crack in it. So he wasn't confident with the owners previously to this, which this car actually has a lot of owners, 7 total owners, and I think he's going to be the 8th. You have a lot of owners on the vehicle. Who knows what was done, what wasn't done. And when I went through this vehicle, I found that a lot of the items were neglected, such as oil change, gearbox oil, e-diff oil, stuff like that, even the power steering. Some of the guys that buy these vehicles, they just don't care. A lot of times they could afford the car but not the maintenance, and then they sell it to the next guy and so forth, and that's what we normally see here. It does have 40,000 miles on the odometer, no joke. So you can get this many miles on a Ferrari. So check out the odometer, guys. 39,971. I actually have to drive it another 20 miles, so by the time I'm done with it, it's gonna have close to 40,000 miles. Is it a lot of miles for a Ferrari? I just can feel that you guys would ask. Yes, it is. It's a lot of miles, but having this car being the way it is, it's actually in pretty good shape, surprisingly. So probably first 2 owners, 3 owners took very well care of this car, and then after that it kind of maybe possibly got neglected. I wasn't there, so I don't know. I could only comment on what I see, but definitely the last 2 owners didn't really care too much about it. Would you get a lower mile Ferrari? I prefer actually a little bit higher miles, because when you get the really low mileage cars like 2,000, 3,000 miles, there seems to be a lot of problems with them as far as deterioration, dry rotting of components, just things just going bad. So one of the biggest issues we find, actually with the V12s especially, is the actuator solenoids. Yep, those things right there. They leak internally. They end up filling up the wiring harness with oil. That's a common issue. Most guys don't know even to check for that. They'll eventually fill your wiring harness and start having weird drivability, and eventually it could actually kill your ME if the oil creeps up all the way to your ME. But as far as anything else, your typical oil leaks internally for the spark plug tube seals, valve cover gaskets, stuff like that. Intake gaskets can leak on these. All that could be smoke tested and checked. But time to go on a test drive. What a difference it makes. We now have 0 vibration. The mirrors don't vibrate, which was a big problem. So now it feels like as it should for a 430 after all the fixes. If you don't really know how a 430 is supposed to feel, you would think it's normal to have this vibration, cabin noise, all due to engine mounts and transmission bushing. So yeah, this is now completely fixed. Customer's coming tomorrow from New York and is going to drive it back from North Carolina to New York. So shift's very nice. The battery, they let the battery die in this vehicle, so we had to reprogram the F1 box as they'll pop out of gear, but also the leakages on the solenoids are at the max, so we'll eventually need an actuator for the F1 actuator system. Anyways, time to get back to the shop, and I'll show you some of the items we did here. Got this 430 here, Ferrari. Time to replace some parts. We're actually doing a major service on this car, and if you could see here, we're removing engine mounts, and they are completely cracked up. This car has been vibrating like crazy. Transmission bushing has already been replaced. That was another really big item, which is a pain in the neck to do. Obviously requires a special tool, but this is how bad this one was. So if you have cabin vibration on your Ferrari 430, just about most any Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, or any other make really, it's always going to be your engine mounts, unless you have some mechanical problems. But we're going to remove this. We're doing all the fluids. We're doing the e-diff fluid, the transaxle fluid, This vehicle was just purchased by a customer. He's out of state, so we're doing all the services. We're going to replace the spark plugs, all factory genuine parts, bleed the whole F1 system, e-diff system, transmission, and everything else. Pretty nice car, has 40,000 miles, so it needs a lot of work. These cars need to be maintained, but I wanted to just quickly go over some of the things we're doing on it. So if you guys have one of these and you guys have problems with vibration or just cabin noise or anything like that, they are known for that. The mirrors wobble after they get some miles on them. Fluid replacement, power steering, and F1. Nice and black, look at that. Okay, so now we're bleeding the last portion of the bleeder valve. There's another one right there in the bottom. Bleeding the clutch system. Topping off our fluid, and it's nice and red now. Where's the really nasty brown stuff? Time to go further. Draining some fluids here. This hasn't been done in a long time. Gearbox oil. Getting ready to clean this filter right here. Time to bleed some brakes. We got a little helper here walking around. This is one of the nastiest filters I've ever seen. Here's what we had for engine mounts. Pretty much had two-piece engine mounts, if you know what I mean. This vehicle was sold like this to a customer out of New York, and this is where I'm getting ready to ship it from, North Carolina. They were completely busted. I mean, I noticed it when we first did a PPI. This is actually the transmission mount. These are pain in the neck to replace, but I always replace them at the same time because I know that they will be cracked like this one, as this 430 is a 2005, so it's the time that kills them, but it also has 40,000 miles on it. So this is it. It's done. Just need to go test drive it, see how smooth it feels, and time to the next project. I perform a self-learn because the shop that sold this vehicle to a customer did not do this after the battery died. So let's see what's going on. There we go. We're pretty much all the way self-learned here. Time to go on a test drive, and he's picking it up today, so we'll have it over to him shortly. He should be here maybe in 4 hours. He's actually going to drive it back to New York, which is pretty cool. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video.